Pilot Airman Cert Standards. That's fun. Share. No one's online yet. Good morning.
I wanted to be here yesterday. And
Yeah.
I wanted to even Zoom, but
yeah,
had a appointment with the VA.
all good. All good. All right, Larry's here.
I always try to make your class.
Thank you. That's very nice. It's very nice. It's the last day.
Yeah, it is.
It's the last day.
And then we get a break, right?
Yeah, we all get a break. The next round will start November 17th.
17th.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Some
you're
of you-
teaching it?
Some of you might be instrument graded by that. Who knows? I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just manifesting for the universe.
That is great.
They haven't told me who's teaching it yet.
Oh, really?
They usually make those decisions like the Friday before it starts.
No way.
I'm not joking. It's this how things seem to work here. I have told Courtney and Jimbo that I will teach again, but it really is up to them. They make decisions about this stuff that involves a lot of factors and balancing a lot of things that I'm not aware of.
So that makes my decision of taking the next class a little,
The nice thing is, since you've done it once, you literally don't have to decide until that day, right? And once you've come through the whole thing once, you can pick and choose. You're like, oh, I just want to come on instrument. I just want to come on approaches week, or oh, I just want to come on, departure procedures for a little brush up, or I want to whatever. You're totally allowed to do that. Cool. All right, team. We are going to pick up. Oh, actually, before we start, one correction I need to make that I said yesterday. You two are the only ones who were here yesterday to hear this mistake. We were talking about the lost comms scenario, the 91185 morning, where the 91185 told us to climb higher than our service ceiling. Yes, it's ringing a bell from yesterday. And I said you could put full throttle and climb at VX and just, until your plane stops climbing, and that's service ceiling. I think the literal quote was, that's the definition of your service ceiling. That was wrong. I need to correct myself right now. The literal definition of service ceiling is, yeah, you're climbing full throttle, but you're at less than 100 feet per minute climb. That is actually the literal definition of how the FAA defines service ceiling. I was wrong yesterday. I need to correct that with you all. Service ceiling is you have full throttle climb, but your climb performance is less than 100 feet per minute.
So you just needed to add the 100.
That's all. Yeah, exactly.
You're not that wrong.
I was only a little bit wrong. In check rides. So that was that. But I just want to make sure you all know, in case you go to a check ride and you're like, no, that's the service ceiling, and the DP's like, no, and I don't want you.
So yesterday,
that was my bad.
I was here like an afternoon parties coming.
Yeah.
And Bruce was doing the same thing like we were doing.
Yeah, there's a CFII class happening this week, and they were all doing their exit exams, I think yesterday and maybe today too.
So his route, there was an MEA of 11,500 feet.
Okay.
So he was like, what could I Mike, how was he? He was trying to figure out what's his cruising altitude.
Yeah.
Because he was going east.
Sure.
And based on 91,179, the IFR cruising altitude.
This guy, 91,179.
You gotta go even.
Eastbound is odds. So if the MEA is 11.5, what's the next?
13.
Third 1,3,000.
It'll be 1,3,000.
Which we can. So what was his answer?
He was trying to figure
the double I candidate. What's the answer?
Don't do it.
Pick another route. The answer is pick another route. Exactly. The answer is pick another route. You can't do it. That's exactly right.
Yesterday, we lost concrete grammar. Talk about that.
Yeah.
And he got me because the way I explained it, you don't have the F and Mia.
Yeah.
But he said don't say like that, say Mia and navigate out because you gotta time first. And that's the most important thing when you can't see. And so he's like, I don't know if I learned it that way or I just said it that way. But he said never say don't flip it.
There's a tip. There's a tip from a face check examiner.
So always MEA first,
Yeah,
then
first.
That's not a bad idea. That's actually really good. It's a really good suggestion.
Fire.
Yeah.
We actually have to do it.
I saw you on the schedule. How did it go?
But that's what I was just like with it.
So congratulations to Raul passing approaches face check round.
Especially with Grant.
especially with Grant. He's no joke. And Otto, you passed a base check this week too, right?
Yeah, both of them.
Congratulations, Otto. Arcs and holds. Anybody else have things to celebrate? Nice, good. Love to see the success. Love to see.
They're playing it?
Hopefully the Dodgers tonight. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
In our lost comms scenario.
Yeah.
You said we reach our service area.
Yes.
Wouldn't you like circle? In that kind of area?
Well, it would depend, correct? Because MEA is altitude and then Avenue F is course. So yesterday you decided your course based on Avenue F. We decided we were vectored and then we're like, okay, but we can't be vectored forever. So then the question is, when do you turn back to your route? We decided that we try to find the traffic on the G3X or the G10650 because we were vectored for traffic and use that to help inform when we would turn back. We didn't have that, then we just kind of have to decide a certain number of minutes based on our pilot judgment and maybe our situational awareness by pulling up things like the sectional or other charts to help us realize like, okay, what's happening down there. Yeah. But that's the situation where 91185 is actually silent, right? You gotta then do some, the technical word that's I think is pilot ship. You gotta like really get it done. Really get it done. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
that note.
Yeah.
9185 Charlie.
Yeah.
Said something about like turn proceed by most direct route from point of radio failure to fixed route or airway.
Yeah, let's pull it up.
So when it said that and you get vectored off your route because of traffic and then you lose comms, at that point you don't do any. I mean, I guess it's pilot's discretion. You would do a 180 or you just make a 90 back to the route.
Can you point to us which part of 91185 you're thinking of? I don't see any Charlie. Oh, here it is. This is all Charlie. Which part of Charlie?
Double I.
One double I, this one?
Double I, yeah.
Okay, so route. This is Avenue F, right? By the route assigned, if being radar vector, there's the V, by the direct route from the point of radio failure to the fix, route, or airway specified in the clearance. Specified in the vector clearance.
So with that being said, if you get vectored off because of traffic and then you lose comms, right? Direct to the route.
Well, I'm trying to decode this. Tell me what you're thinking again. Tell me how it goes in your brain.
So if an airway was on your left and
Yeah.
you get vectored off
Yeah,
and now you lose comms.
yeah.
I was given the scenario maybe 2 or 3 times from
Yeah.
different mentors.
Yeah.
And one says 180 and go back to the route. And the other one says, no, according to this reg, it says you go so direct. So if you're off the airway, take a 90 and go back to that route because you lost comms and you lost comms at that point when you got vectored. You see what I'm saying?
I do. Here's my issue with it. And any lawyers in the room? Forget who's a lawyer. I'll pull out our lawyer hats for a second. Here's how I read what this says, right? Each pilot shall continue the flight according to the following. Cool. So if you're on the route, right? Route, first of all. Then, if being radar vectored, then fly by the direct route from the point of failure to the route fix or airway specified in the vector clearance. Specified in the vector clearance. So if I was instructed, Sling 805 Alpha Zulu, turn right, heading 090 vectors for traffic, that was the vector clearance, not the route I was on. That's how I read that with my lawyer hat on.
Okay.
So
then
you're not going to fly that forever, right? The
Right.
point is you're not going to fly that forever. So the operative part of this aeronautical decision-making scenario is, when do you as a pilot decide, I'm not going to fly away from my filed route, my airway, my safe area, and my destination forever. So if I still don't have comms after a certain amount of miles, time, whatever, when do I then decide to go to the next route, to go to the next one or the next one? That I think is the operative question. But the way I read double I is that by direct route to the fixed route or airway, it's not the airway that was specified in my clearance at the beginning of my flight. It was the vector clearance. You could be, for example, given a vector, fly heading 090, join Victor 64. Cool. Then cool. Then I just go and I join Victor 64. Or fly heading 020, join, I think of how this would work for a fix. I don't even know how it worked for a fix because they wouldn't give me vectors to a fix. They would just say fly direct to a fix, which would be to me assigned.
But in cases like we are here in SoCal and traffic is coming around us and they say, Sling 123, 090.
Yes.
Okay, cool, 090.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we lose control.
Yes. Then what is the question, right? Yeah. My answer to that is you should make an aeronautical decision for how long you carry on that vector based on the reason they gave you the vector. They're supposed to tell you there's like a whole, it's not a FAR, but there's a whole stack of like standard operating procedures that controllers use. And in there, it says if you're in an IFR flight plan, VFR, whatever, but if you're on an IFR flight plan and they give you a vector, they're supposed to tell you why. And the three most common ones are vectors for traffic, vectors for sequence, vectors to final. So you should have some clue about why they're giving you a vector, and that can inform your decision about how long you're going to carry on in 090.
Because if it's like traffic, you can just give it 5-10 minutes before you fly.
Exactly. If it's vectors for sequence, well, screw the sequence. They can see me on radar. I'm squawking 7600. They're going to have to get out of the way now, back to my route. Right? It's like a different kind of decision making.
Yeah.
Vectors to final. Cool. I know where final is. Boom, boom, boom. Send it. Right? Like, I do think that this scenario we did yesterday is probably the most complicated because you're off route, you're vectored, and the Oroka is higher than our service ceiling. That's like all the complications. And in my check ride, there was also terrain right in front of me. There was a mountain I was about to run into. So I guess that would be like the ultimate, right?
So what did you end up doing?
Well, I've had a lot of time to think about it since my check ride in January, right? But my answer, having thought about it for months, is because it was vectors for traffic, try to find the traffic on the G3X or the GTN 650 to inform how long I was going to carry on the vector. At the same time, and to Raul's point from his phase check yesterday, full throttle VX climb, because I need to try to get above whatever terrain, right? And do my best to get to the Oroka ASAP, right? And even if I can't make it all the way there, at least to my service ceiling, which is defined as what? Now that I corrected myself?
You're under.
Full throttle and your climb rate is less than 100 feet per minute. That's the
FAA term.
That's the official definition, correct? And at the same time, right, as I see traffic leaving, then return to the airway because I know my airway MEA was within my capabilities of my airplane. That was my solution. What I actually said was not quite that, and I still got my cert, so it's okay. But it's that if I had it to do again, that's what I would say.
Now, when you return to your airway, you just went direct back, or okay? Because I was told, oh well, the route that you flew from behind you was clear of obstacles, so the pilot should. That I guess
it's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
If you know that there was nothing you had behind you, that's not a terrible idea.
Go 180 and then
if you can't make it to the Oroka to turn back the way you came, that's cheap. Okay, good. I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. I like that logic. I didn't hit anything on the way off this route, so I'll just go back the way I came and then rejoin my Victor Airway. How wide is the Victor Airway? A total of 4? 4 nautical miles on each side, so you keep that in mind as well, right? Depending on how long you were vectored off your route or how far you got off, you might still be in that 4 nautical mile protected area at the MEA. That's something else to consider. Yeah, but that's a good addition. I'm going to add that now to my thought process as well. I like that. But I do think that this 9195 Charlie 1 double I is saying this is talking about the vector, this is talking about your radar vector that you got in the vector clearance, not in your route clearance, not in anything else. That's how I read that.
So this wouldn't apply to when we get vectored off.
It would.
It would.
It would. What I thought you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you were saying, if I'm being vectored, then I should just go from the place I lose my comms right back to my vector airway, let's just say. And the answer to that is, it doesn't say that, right? Because it's talking about go from where you lose the radio to the fixed route or airway specified in the vector clearance. And your vector clearance was turn right heading 090 vectors for traffic. That was your vector clearance. Yeah. Yeah, now maybe we've gone too deep and now we made it more complicated. I know. It's like when we talk about VORs and like VOR errors, like if you think about it too much, no. It's just, yeah. The bottom line I would say is that I do think this scenario is the most complex 91-185 scenario. And the keys are to demonstrate, the order of things. I like starting with the climb first. That's good. MEA, then Avenue F. I like that. And then to know, cool, I wasn't assigned, I was vectored, cool. Well, I can't continue this vector forever. Now, when do I do my aeronautical decision making to get myself back onto a safe place? And that's based on, cool, can I use my single pilot resource management, the tools at my disposal in the cockpit and outside the cockpit? Well, now I don't have that many I don't have outside the cockpit anymore because I lost my comms. But can I find that traffic on my displays to inform when I would turn back? If you went into a check ride and you're like, yeah, I'm going to turn back immediately because I can't make the Oroka, I think you could make an argument for that too, right? In theory, if your transponder's working, there's no guarantee your transponder's working if you lost comms, right? But if your transponder's working, whenever you squawk 75, 76, or 7700, that is sending big flashes off in the radar room at SoCal TRACON or whatever center you're on, right? That is sending big old, the alarms are going off, the klaxons have sounded. And they are now clearing everybody out of your way. That Amazon jet that was inbound to San Bernardino that you were getting vectored for, now they're getting vectored for you, right? That's what's happening. Yeah, very satisfying. Very satisfying. Exactly. I know. Yeah, one day we always get vectored. I went to a pilot controller forum. I keep talking about the FAA safety seminars, the WINGS program. I strongly recommend you all make a WINGS account if you don't already have one on FAAsafety.gov, because you will need at a minimum, it's basically there are no WINGS seminars right now. That's cool. You'll need to have a minimum of a certain number of WINGS courses or seminars you've done in order to apply to be a CFI here. At least 10.
Isn't it like 24 something? And each seminar is like something like 30.
Well, there's the way Sling has done it, at least when I applied to be a CFI, it was a certain number of things. So I think I had to do like at least 10 things, like activities. That could be a mix of flight activities, seminars, or webinars. But I do strongly recommend you do that. And for your own education, right? Like I actually saw a WING seminar come across recently that was about like volunteer flying. So like there's a bunch of organizations that allow you to volunteer as a pilot to bring people, say from rural areas to hospitals, places where there's a hospital where they can maybe get specialized medical care. Like Angel Flight West is one of those organizations. So you volunteer your time, you fly to like Reading, you pick somebody up, you bring them to Santa Monica, they get to go get their cancer treatment at UCLA, like that kind of stuff.
You don't get paid, but you get time back.
Exactly. And I'm not a tax advisor, but you might be able to write that off too, right? As a donation of resources and time, because those are not profits. Anyway, I saw a WING seminar that was like analyzing accidents among volunteer pilots. And I just got approved for a couple volunteer orgs. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like an interesting seminar to me, right? So like you will see stuff that will be interesting to you. A lot of them are on Zoom. You just watch it on Zoom, you have to go live, but like you watch it and that's that. Why did I get on this about FAA safety?
So WINGS program.
Make an account.
Make an account, go do the things. There's something about 91-185. There was some connection here. I've now forgotten. Maybe a couple.
But that's where you make the account.
Yeah, FAAsafety.gov. That's right. Yeah, new to FAA safety, create an account. Yeah, and just start collecting these. You'll need at least 10 to be a CFI here. But also, the other nice thing, not only do you learn stuff, and I learn stuff all the time. I went to one on, well, actually, look, Danya logged in. Some other people logged in. I can give you a tour of that another time. But the point is that if you also, not only do you need this to be a CFI, but you say you get like a non-critical pilot deviation, right? Say you're like, I accidentally clipped the Bravo by accident, and you get violated, and the FAA safety inspector calls you, and you're like, yeah, sorry. Before the FAA safety inspector calls you, they have your cert number, and they will look up and see what you've been doing on this. And if you have a nice transcript of a lot of things, they're way more likely to be like, okay, what happened? Cool, don't do it again. Thanks. And that's the end of your whole
I
thing.
was flying, I dropped my pencil.
I experienced spatial disorientation, and yeah, exactly. But if they log on and you don't have an account, or you've never done a safety thing, then they have more discretion, right? But you want to give them opportunities. We shouldn't be planning our lives around like if we screw up. This has the double benefit of like you learn stuff, it's good for you, it does make you a safer pilot, and in the event that you have an issue, it demonstrates your commitment to safety in a tangible way that the FAA safety inspector can look at and be like, this person just made a little mistake. I can just give them a slap on the wrist and move on with our lives. Cool.
And then you said you can also get your drone certificate. If you're-
Yeah, once you all are rated, you can become a drone pilot by literally just taking an online course on FASafety.gov, filling out an IACRA, and any authorized instructor can issue your drone certificate. Happy to give you your drone certificate.
trying to do that.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. If you already have the if you already have a manned cert, which all of you who are private pilots do, it's literally that easy. Yeah. Then I go onto IACRA and I issue you your cert. Comes in the mail. It's just another way to stand out. Cool. Okay, team. Last thing on 91185, we didn't talk about this. There's this whole thing in number 3 on 91185. This is if you're told to hold and you lose your comms during a hold. When you're given a hold, we don't always practice this the way we should in the practice area when we're teaching holds. Like when you were given your hold in the face check, did they say hold at whatever, expect further clearance in?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, I'm guilty. I almost never do that as an instructor. I'm just like, here are your hold instructions. I don't say expect further clearance in 5 minutes. Like, no, you're going to expect further clearance when someone is trying to hit us in the practice area and I have to deviate us because it's the practice area, right? But ATC is always supposed to give you, when they give you a hold, expect further clearance in X minutes. The whole reason for that is 91-185-3, and that's for when to leave the clearance limit. The other thing in number 3 is when to start your approach, right? In our scenario yesterday, if I lose my comms, we were losing our comms. Let me switch over here to the low, the en route. It was like right over here, right? Mumti, we were on Victor 12, yeah? It was like over here, we were losing it. It's like, well, I'm not going to keep flying forever. When do I start my approach into Prescott? And 185.3 talks about that. There's actually a pretty nice flow chart for this in the slides and in the pilot's, what do you call it? The flight insight prep handbook. Does anybody have any questions on 91-185 before we put that to bed for today? Pretty much guaranteed on a check ride. Pretty much guaranteed. A lost comm scenario, basically guaranteed. Cool. Thank you all for helping build. I feel like we got a couple. I'm going to add a couple things to my arsenal. One is do the altitude first, and the other is turn back the way you came if you were off route because you know you didn't hit anything behind you. I like both those additions. Cool. Nice. Okay, team. Next thing in the check ride is approaches, right? Now we've gotten to Prescott. And my question for you is, what approach are you going to request? What approach are you going to request at Prescott?
The easiest.
Okay, which one, Chris?
I didn't go that.
There's
Okay.
an ILS approach. You can go ahead.
I like GPS.
Jackson, which approach did you request?
I didn't get that far.
If you like purple needles, cool. Okay. Very exciting. Okay, does anybody have a nomination? You can we'll take volunteers. Which approach are you gonna request?
There's an ILS.
ILS DME. Okay, talk to me about why you pick an ILS DME approach.
Because you get the.
Cool. I like this. I like this idea, right? When given the option to have lateral and vertical guidance, might as well take it. Might as well take it. See if I can screen share this.
So you did this flight already? How do you like do your procedure if it's like it's on your flights?
You don't file the approach. So you don't fit to the flight on the flight tab.
So that means
You can add it in the map section in your FPL drawer, but you can't add, oh sorry. Avert your eyes. There we go. I fixed it. You don't add it to your flights. You don't add it to your flights.
I don't have plates.
You can put it in your plates. Is that what you're saying? You can add it to your plates. Yeah.
What's the code?
KPRC. KPRC. Otto, what's another reason to pick the ILS? Not only does it give it lateral and vertical guidance, standard ILS, how high above the touchdown zone threshold elevation does it give us for our minimums? Standard. 200 feet. Those of you who've been practicing the ILS in the Torrance and you reach your, well, now there's a no time, so that's not a good example. Anybody ever done the ILS in a Long Beach and actually done a full stop landings? They actually let you get all the way there. And your instructor is like, okay, you're like minimums. Your instructor's like, my controls, take off your foggles, and then you pop them out. How high is 200 feet? It is not that high. There are buildings around here higher than 200 feet. Not many, but a few that are higher than 200 feet. Like it is low. It is low. How low does the ILS take us into Prescott? You're looking at the two on left.
Yeah, it's 200 feet above 200.
Look here, right? See 200 feet. Yeah, 5177 MSL, but 200 feet above the elevation. So that is low. So why would it be advantageous to us to pick an approach with very low minimums?
Because the ceilings are lower.
That's it, right? Exactly. So that is a good argument to say, I'm going to pick an approach that has low minimums. I get vertical and lateral guidance plus low minimums. Sold. Sounds good to me. Sold.
Oh wait, no, it just says localized. Because I'm going back to where it says, like, if you look at the plate, it also tells you what equipment is required. And I go back to, we don't have DME, so we can't do this, but it says localize your DME.
Yeah, exactly.
So when he first said it, ILS DME, I'm like, we can't do that.
Well, even if it said DME straight up, we don't have DME. Can we use GPS in lieu of DME?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know the
Yes. Even on the final approach course, I know I keep saying like, oh, blah, 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 no GPS on a line base. But for the purposes of DME, if you're using green needles for the localizer and the glide slope, and you're using DME to you're using GPS to identify points on the approach that would otherwise have been only identifiable using DME, you're good. You're good.
So we gotta make sure we're in green needles before the final approach.
Right. Did I tell you what my double I DP called the CDI button?
$1,500 betting.
Yeah, exactly. The like $1,000 button, right? If you're on an approach, green needles, and you are on purple, and then you forget to switch to green for the final approach fix, it costs $1,000 button because you need to go. You get it unsat, then you got to go retrain with your CFII, then you got to go retest.
And then that's not
One button.
That's not nothing you can do the take money out of the bank, right? Like
No, there are certain things that if you do them wrong, like that's one. Busting minimums is one. Like there's basically no way for the DPE to. Yeah. If you're like a little sus on your 91, 185, maybe they let that slide. But busting minimums, being on the wrong color needles, that even if everything else is perfect, can't. It's not going to be safe, right? If you do that IRL, that's not. Okay. Okay, so the Prescott ILS localizer DME. Before we go deep into this plate, what would we expect would be our transition from our cleared route to get onto this approach? And if you remember, let me go back to our route, just so everybody can refresh their memory. I have it in the iPad. I'll switch to the computer real quick. Sky vector, we are ending here at Drake. Our clearance, our craft clearance was this whole thing ending at the Drake VOR and then direct. That was our clearance. So if that's the clear, so after Drake, it says direct. Okay, obviously we have to do an approach. So how are we going to start this approach on the ILS? Jackson, we'll come back to you. How are you going to start that approach?
Coming over from Drake to Cry.
Craddy?
Cray.
Sure. Craddy?
Craddy.
I don't know how to say it.
And we're gonna do
How fancy you want to be? How fancy are they in Prescott? Anybody know? Any Arizonans? No.
Didn't see that.
I think they're pretty humble people, the Arizonans. Yeah, it's my assumption too. Cool. So you're saying Drake to Craddy. Cool. Works for me. So this is actually super handy when you have some waypoint from your en route structure on the approach plate. And that's a good practice when you're doing your IFR planning. Look at what approach you think you're going to use and then include that in your plan, because again, 91-185 lost comms. Well, even if I have to revert back to my filed route, it's my last thing in Avenue F. Look, Drake is actually on this approach plate. So that helps me then get set up for this approach.
We have made Crotty our.
You could file Crotty. You could have filed Crotty. And then they may or may not clear you for it. They may still say Drake direct, in which case, okay, Drake direct. But what's going to happen is, as you get onto the final approach controller, which will be on what frequency? 133. Yeah, who said that? Good job. 133.575. Yeah, 133.575. When you get on that, they're either going to tell you what approach, or if there are multiple approaches in use, they might ask for your request. You're also going to have to listen to the ATIS on what frequency?
12772.
Right? They have their own 1272. I bet it's not quite as busy as ours because it's just the ATIS talking over and over and over. When the tower's in-op, it goes to an ASOS. When the tower's open, it will tell you what approaches are in use, right? Just like ours does, like at Torrance. ILS, runway 29 right, approach in use. Then it's like 8 million NOTAMs about all the taxiway lights that are out. But that is, each ATIS will tell you what. It's 9 a.m. I do not need to know if there's no taxiway lights out there. It's literally fully daylight. Stop telling me about those. It's my personal beef. Next time I go on a tower tour, I'm gonna be like, what? What is the deal? What's the deal? You literally listen. Long Beach 8 times busier than us. The ATIS is a third the length.
That's like worse. The eight is so fast. I have to take multiple times.
That's what I'm
to write
saying.
it down, and
That's what you're saying.
that's at the end of it.
It's ridiculous. And then you're trying to monitor that while you're on 12535. No chance. Anyway, this is what we deal with. This is why we get good experience as pilots training here in SoCal. So your Gone Phoenix approach, they might tell you expect ILS runway 21 left approach. Why do they do that? 91-185 less. They might say, you know, when you say sling 805, Phoenix approach, sling 805 Alpha Zulu, 5,000, or what would we say, 1,000. Sling 5 Alpha Zulu, 805 Alpha Zulu, Phoenix approach, say approach request. And then you got to be ready. 5 Alpha Zulu, we'd like the ILS 21 left, please. Sling 5 Alpha Zulu, you can expect that. That's the same way. They're going to tell you what to expect, purely for lost comms. Cool.
That means we gotta. I think we did it, and then we're supposed to be like a what, 11,000 at Drake.
1,000 was our final cruising altitude.
So we're going from 1,000 to 7,900.
Well, let's look here at the what's the MEA on this route, on this part of Victor 12?
10,000.
Right, so we know we're at least at 10, but they might have the ability to they have maps to allow them to see. They might be able to
Bring us down low.
give us vectors to get us down lower, sir.
And then are they able to like go against the reg? Like, you know how east is odds?
Yes.
Then could they give us a
Yeah, they can do whatever they need you to keep you clear, and they have their own procedures and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, yesterday on the way to, I did a cross country, VFR cross country, not IFR, just straight up VFR cross country to Palomar. And we were cruising at 5.5, a nice eastbound, chill, odd plus 500 VFR cruising altitude. And over John Wayne, they were like, climb maintain 6,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool. What a great, like, westbound IFR cruising altitude. We're going eastbound to, like, but they can do what they need to keep you clear.
Yeah.
They're in charge. There is a reg that says that you have to follow ATC. You have to follow ATC. Cool. Okay, Jackson, coming back to you. So we know that our en route structure is taking us to Drake.
Yes.
What is this leg called? From Drake to Craddy. Craddy.
What is it called?
Yeah, what do you call that part of this approach? You know, each section, there's different, like, I forget if they call them segments or parts of the approach. We were talking, for example, earlier about the final approach segment.
Arrival.
No, an arrival is something different. Could come up on your check ride. It didn't come up in mine, but it could. Probably. Did you talk about arrivals all yesterday and approaches face check? No, it's that one's hit or miss. Anybody know? We'll open it up to phone a friend. What's this part of the approach called? It is in fact a feeder route, plus 10 points, right? It is in fact a feeder route. How do you know? See how thin the line is compared to this line?
Are you talking about the
This
042?
042 radial from Drake taking you to Craddy, 16 miles at 9,000, right? That's a feeder route. Feeder routes, per chapter 4 of the instrument procedures handbook, get you from your en route structure, right? Like somewhere here, into your initial approach segment.
They're always gonna be published like that.
Yeah, there'll always be those little arrows like that. Yes, yes.
And that
Or sorry, the thinner black line.
There could be multiple feeders to different.
Sure could. Sure could. Absolutely could. Yep.
I'm getting a header right here. The feather, that means it has a localizer backwards.
This feather is a localizer. It's not a back course. There's two ways we can know it's a front course. What's one way?
The shaded area, like on the
Right.
tab.
If it's on the right, you're in the right. Your CDI is reading right. If it's on the left, I don't know.
What?
It's not. Here's the other way. If this was a localizer back course, at the top, it would say ILS or LOC DME runway 21 left back course in parentheses, or BC on the FAA plate. They'd make it really clear. Jepson also shades the back course localizer in like pure black versus see this front course is like the right part of the feather is like kind of lightly shaded. We go to say, what was it, Santa Maria? KSMX, is that the one we looked at? Let's look at John Wayne since I just talked about them. KSNA. See, it says LOC B back course. And at the top, it says back course, LOC back course. And look how dark that feather is to really try to draw your attention. That's a Jepson special. The FAA does it, but not without. It's a little less
They do it on front course.
No, it's still drawn with the shading on the left, but it's just not quite as dark, and it's not trying to, it doesn't do, I think, as good a job as trying to get your attention. So that's a feeder route. Now the next question, what happens when you get to Crotty? Spin the wheel here. Let's see what happens. Michael, what happens when you get to Crotty?
So when you get to Grady, you can make a parallel entry. And then you can get back onto 208 course. Go down to 7,100 start.
Cool. You said parallel entry. I approved that. How many laps in the hold are you gonna do?
0.
Oh, really? Why not?
Unless I need to, I just parallel entry and go straight onto the local library.
Send it, cool. When you say if you need to, what would be reasons you would need to?
More time to set up, more time to look at the approach plate.
Cool. And is that just your discretion? Can you just get to karate and be like, yeah, I think I need to do a couple laps?
Yeah, unless ATC tells me otherwise.
Not quite.
We gotta tell them, right?
AIM chapter 5 says if you need laps at a procedure turn, a hold in lieu of procedure turn, you do have to request and be approved for it.
Okay.
Otherwise, ATC, as you said, they're not, well, that's actually opposite what you said. They're not gonna assume you're doing any laps.
Yeah.
If you need them for any of the reasons you said, lose altitude, get set up, you're unstable for any reason, you do have to ask for it and be approved for it. That's
Cause they
very
might have
important.
other planes. that-
Exactly. They're assuming that you're just parallel entering and sending it. And they're setting everybody else up in sequence with that assumption. So if you need laps, that's why you gotta let them know. Exactly.
Would
Yeah.
teardrop be easier?
I'll open that to the class. Would a teardrop be easier?
Cause I feel like if you do a parallel, you're kind of going outside of the plate, and then the plate doesn't depict any terrain over there. We can assume that it's clear, but
Well, that's a great question. We can talk about that. Let's take this one question at a time. Would a teardrop be easier? Karate.
No.
For the entries, no.
For the entry, no. For the entry, for sure, no. Why? Let's draw the hold. Okay, here's karate.
You're coming from the opposite side.
Oh, I drew it with some wind correction. Please forgive me. Here's karate. Here's how I would do it, right? I extend the inbound course. There's one. I think about perpendicular to that, and then I tilt it into the hold. Go kind of like that. What's this? The whole thing is direct. What's this? And what's this? Obviously, by definition, right? So anything from like, here to about here is parallel entry.
cause I'm like, so the reason I say teardrop is because I'm doing the approach and it shows a teardrop entry.
Oh, yeah, for flight does show teardrop.
No, that looks like a parallel entry to me. You get here, you go out, and then you do your parallel and send it. I guess it just depends on, if it was teardrop, see how this, it would be starting at Drake, or at karate, This is showing you going there,
Oh, yeah.
out, and then hooking around. Yeah, so it's showing you parallel. Yeah, that's that. The other way we know it's not more chill, if I get here, or more like here, right? My first turn is 20 degrees, 30 degrees, right? To start my parallel. If I needed to do teardrop, it would be that plus another 30. It's like 50, 60 degrees. We always want to choose the most chill entry. Yeah. Cool. Yes.
So parallel entry. Personally, and I don't know about everybody else, but I do a minute and a half out, right?
I do too.
Right? But
Instrument procedure handbook says a minute, but
right,
I do a minute and a half.
just because we want to intercept, that fits.
I want to have enough time to get out there, and after I do this, to then get aligned on course. Sometimes you have to lose altitude. I want to put in my wind correction if I need to do yes.
So on here, the profile view, it says 1 minute.
I was going to ask, how much protected area do you have? Right?
So Catalina has this on their profile view too. And when I was shooting this approach with 3 different people, 3 different instructors, I got 3 different answers.
About how far out to fly the parallel?
Right.
Uh-huh.
So my original instructor was like, yeah, it says a minute here. And according to, I guess, whatever far aim, she says, oh, take all information possible and apply it to your knowledge and fly that.
Okay.
Okay. But then I flew with a chief instructor.
Mr. Jimbo.
Mr. Jimbo, and he says, it's up to you, but personally, I do a minute and a half. I was like, I like that idea. That's a great idea because it's a better intercept. They're not rushing to intercept it, right? So then I flew with another person, you know, and she told me something different too. So
What's the
that's why I'm bringing this up. I'm like, well, it says 1 minute here, and you raise a good question with the whole terrain issue, and it says that for a reason. So what could we do?
Well, here's my logic. Well, first of all, does anybody have any logic? What would they, what do you?
I feel like if you're flying for a minute, you could end up with an aggressive intercept and you're trying to turn into that.
Yes, especially if there's crosswind. Other thoughts?
The GPS, when I put it on autopilot, it flew it out for 1 minute. And with that 1 minute, it aggressively went 90. So it was like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's coming out like this, right? It's going like this. And then like that,
Yes.
right? Like it was
So,
very
it was
aggressive.
Very aggressive. So I don't know.
Other thoughts?
Let's
This
go back to-
critical thinking.
Sorry. They put things in there to keep us safe. So they put
There we go.
1 minute,
There we go.
then they want us to fly for 1 minute.
There we go.
Although we want to fly for 1 minute 30, there's probably a reason why we don't fly 30 seconds further out.
Okay, okay. Other thoughts?
Assuming they don't speed.
Ah, there is a speed limit. What's the speed limit for this hold?
You're at what, 9,000, 9,000, what, 230?
What a good question.
230.
Okay, so let's do the speed limits. What's the first altitude restriction? And what's the speed limit? And what's the next one?
6,000.
And what's the speed limit? And what's the next one? Okay, so more than 14. What is it? Darn it, FA 265, really? Couldn't have just made it a nice, easy plus 30, plus 30? And is this more than, what is this, 6,001?
Yeah.
So 14, yeah.
Is that right? This is 0 to 6,000, 6,001 to 14. This is more than 14. Cool. So we're at 9,000. So what's our speed limit?
For this thing, sure.
230.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Full
Send it.
throttle, 5,500 max continuous. Careful not to exceed the speed limit
The
for this
screen
hold.
tax.
Exactly, the screaming Rotax, poor Rotax at 9,000. They'll do its best. Suckers are pretty bulletproof, but they're not going to give you a ton of performance. So yeah, I think that there's something to be said here for. We do have a speed limit. I like where you're going with this. That's giving us some information, right? Because the FAA has calculated that there's at least clearance to do this for a minute, 230 knots. I like what you're thinking. Stuart, what did you want to add?
I was gonna say, well, this one doesn't have it, but sometimes it will say like, stay within like 5. So that's it.
Exactly. Give us an example of one of those.
Maybe.
Can I suggest Fullerton?
Fullerton or Alpha.
Yeah, our favorite.
Miles.
This is sorry, I shouldn't assume everybody's done this 8 million times. You will if you haven't already done this 10 million times. Click the cigar. Exactly. You're gonna be able to have this plate memorized. You're gonna like have beautiful dreams about the VOR Alpha plate. The reason we do it so much is because you need to do a course reversal as part of your check ride. And where is an easy course reversal? VOR Alpha into Fullerton. If you do this partial panel by hand with the course reversal, you just checked off like a bunch of things on the ACS. So in one approach, and you circled to land, you checked off like 4 things on the ACS.
On that note,
Yeah.
can we like in the check ride, can we like you said, volunteer and be like, hey, can I do this partial panel? And you do that?
You can always ask for things from the DPE. The DPE for your initial rating is responsible for coming up with the plan. For your double I, they often are like, you make the plan, instructor. You make the plan.
Ooh, you fixed the team.
Exactly. And then they can approve or deny your plan, obviously. But for your initial, they're supposed to come up with a plan. If you don't like the plan, you can of course talk to them like human beings and be like, can we do this instead? Who knows? Maybe they say yes. If you know the ACS really well, fine. They are also well within the right to say no, do what I said. Yeah. but
And if
sure.
they're not from here, it's probably like easy, like.
Maybe you're helping them out, maybe you're
Yeah.
not, I don't know, yeah.
Oh, I didn't think.
If
about
you're
it.
going
Maybe
with,
that's right.
if you're going with Catherine Stanley, she knows every single approach by heart, so, you know, but again, maybe even she would be like, sure, let's go, I don't know.
Partial panel, VOR out, why not?
Partial panel, VOR alpha, by hand, circle to land, you checked off like a bazillion things on ACS with one approach.
Here's your cert, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, basically, here's your cert, right, yeah, just make sure you don't bust minimums, you're fine, yeah.
Make sure you're on
So
clear.
that's what's happening here. And then if we scroll down to your point, Stuart, right down here, it says 10 nautical miles for the procedure turn. So you must stay within 10 nautical miles. That's like you're halfway to Catalina by then. Okay, but you could, right? If you were using 5 miles, if you're like on 12535 and you're like halfway to Catalina and approach is like report inbound, and they're like I'm within my 10 miles, they're gonna be very confused. But you could know you have protection that whole way for 10 nautical miles.
That's pretty like a good to do that if you lost comms, like go to the 10 so that way they have time to like clear everybody.
I wouldn't do that. I
You
would.
wouldn't do that either?
The thing about 91185 is they're trying to make it, they're trying to make you predictable.
Oh,
Predictable. So I would fly it the way I always fly it and the way all slings always fly it. They're used to it. 12535 VOR alpha. They can also do that in their sleep. Oh, another sling asking for fly following to Fullerton. Sometimes they've even asked us, say approach request. They know we're not going VFR to Fullerton on fly following. They're like, say approach. They know what we want. They know what we want.
Yeah.
Their only question in their mind is, do we want the procedure turn or not? That's literally the only thing they need to know.
yeah.
And most of the time, the other day, they were like, whether I was like, just departed with like a request. And then somehow immediately said, oh, you want the full attempt procedure turn, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No, for real. I mean, when we flew it, what was it, Tuesday, Raul? We're in the run up. I think we were the 4th sling in the run up to request flight following to Fullerton at 3000. I even said to you, I was like, do you want to do Long Beach first? Everybody's going to Fullerton. I was like, no, worked out fine. But like, literally, it was like traffic sling at your 12 o'clock, 500 below. Like,
They know the game plan.
they know the game plan. Did you know that at Tracon, they only work one position? They do not switch positions. So those people who work 12535, every day they come to work, they only do 12535. You have to get checked out for a particular sector. Versus tower, those people switch around. They do ground, they do clearance, they do what they call local. That means what we call tower. They do north tower, they do south tower. They switch. So in a single shift, they might do all the positions.
So
But at
they know your
Tracon,
price.
But at Tracon, those people on 12535, they are experts in 12535. Experts.
So they know the game plan was playing.
They're some of the best in the world, right? I mean, this airspace is really busy. You hear it on the radio. These people are on. In any case, here's the GPS VOR alpha to Catalina, just to illustrate. It also has a 1 minute. So to come back to your question, Larry, and back to this Prescott Sitch, are you allowed to fly a parallel entry for 1.5 minutes and hook around when it says 1 minute? I have not found an answer to that in black and white in the Instrument Procedures Handbook or the AIM. What we do know from the Instrument Procedures Handbook is how the FAA designs the protected area for these holds. And what we learn is that they use the speed limits as part of the design. So this is, I think, a good thought process. We know they use the speed limits as part of the design.
So to Michael's point, I really like this point because the thing is, if I'm going to Catalina or if I'm going to Prescott and my sling is doing like 90 and I'm going 1.5 minutes out, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna take me out that far.
Right.
Like
Even
like
at
next-
Catalina, which is now going to be in the 200 knot, what do you call it? Your speed limit. So if I'm doing half of that, if I'm going 100 knots, I could still fly out for 2 minutes and be safe. Right? So 1.5 minutes, no worries. No worries. That's my logic. And if DP was like, you busted, I'd be like, no, I didn't. Let me show you how they design holds. Let me demonstrate for you my knowledge of holding speeds. Let me further demonstrate, is this ground speed? What speed is this, these holding speeds?
Indicated.
Indicated airspeed. Indicated airspeed. So there could be, they build in even extra margin on top of this to account for winds and you getting blown by the winds. So when I go out to Catalina, I fly a minute and a half for the parallel entry, just like Jimbo.
And Jimbo was telling me that 1 minute is referred to the holding.
Exactly. Once I'm in the hold, then I'm flying 1 minute legs for sure. But the entry, I'm flying a minute and a half out for my parallel. The Instrument Procedures Handbook does say parallel entry, you should fly a minute. It just doesn't usually work out in real life, in my experience. Even in the sim, it doesn't work out. So my argument is with Jimbo, right? And with you, Michael. Like, I know the protected area based on the speed limits. In a sling, I'm going a minute. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. Yep. If I'm staying in the hold, I'm flying 1 minute legs. Definitely. But I'm not staying in the hold in this case. I'm set up. Let's go. Any questions on this one?
So
Yeah.
where it says 10 I'm sorry.
Go 1, 2. Go ahead.
Where it says 10 miles forward to VOR.
You could. I guess you could. Also, that was easy because it's mostly ocean for 10 miles. Like, it was definitely plenty of protected area. No obstacles out there. Maybe the ME and EVA oil platforms at, 200 AGL. AWL, above water level of MSL? I don't know. What's your question?
So if I was doing like a check ride, would I even brief that then, or would I just fly a minute 30 and then piece doesn't try to explain it?
I would fly it exactly how you're trained. I would fly it exactly how you're trained. So is anybody's instructors, or do you personally, when you do a parallel entry, fly only a minute for the entry?
No.
Does anybody do that?
Always.
I think pretty much, because it just doesn't really work out that well for a minute. That's my experience. It's like, I think pretty much, or the only way it does is then if you do this 90-degree, it's fly a minute and a half, let it show.
Let the autopilot fly.
Or listen, if you're letting autopilot fly it, fine, send it, but yeah. So that's the entry. Cool. When I first encounter CRADI, what do we call CRADI? Because it says IF and IAF. CRADI is both.
Initial approach.
So if I'm doing the hold, right? Let's see, because Drake is not an initial approach fix. It doesn't say IAF up there. That's also a clue how we know that's a feeder route, right? So when I first pass CRADI, I guess that would be the initial approach fix. Then I do my parallel entry. Then when I pass it a second time, what is it?
Initial.
Intermediate fix. That's the IF, intermediate fix. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Doesn't it just stay the same regardless whether you want?
Well, when would CRADI be only an initial fix? Sorry, only an initial approach fix.
When it's the only one.
And you skip the intermediate
With the record.
when you're not doing the hold, right? When you don't need a course reversal, right? If you're coming from anywhere where it says direct, you skip the hold. You don't fly the hold.
I just don't like
You don't need a course reversal, right?
doesn't show anything on the.
There's nothing over there. There's nothing, yeah. Doesn't, that's part of your en route structure. But if I'm coming from the east, I don't need to do this hold, right? I'm from the direct entry side. So I just get to CRADI. Now CRADI is my initial approach fix because I just hit it, intercept the localizer, and go. So in that case, it's only the IAF. In this scenario, the first time we hit it is the initial approach fix. The second time we hit it is now intermediate fix. That level of detail is probably not going to come up in your check ride, but it's good to touch on. Okay, walk us through the rest of this approach. Let's spin the wheel on names. Otto, walk us through the rest of this approach, please.
So we've hit CRADI and we did our parallel entry. And once we're cleared, we fly past CRADI on the 208 course down to 7,900 feet, down to our final approach fix, which is Humpty.
Which approach are we doing? Everything was right until that last sentence, that last phrase. We're doing the ILS or the localizer?
We're intercepting bias.
That's your final approach fix.
Okay.
Remember, if you have an approach with vertical guidance, the final approach fix is the moment you intercept. You're not, in this case, you are correct, right? They can't unset you for
I was about
that.
to say, like, you intercept your final approach fix at Humpty to intercept the glide slope.
Good, right, but technically, if you have vertical guidance, the final approach fix is the place where you intercept the vertical guidance of the glide slope at the prescribed altitude.
This is
In
just
this case, it happens to be also Humpty. See how it even says GS 7900 glide slope 7900. So when you cross Humpty, when your GPS says Humpty, and you're at 7900, your glide slope should also be centered. But that's not always the case. We looked at the Burbank ILS, I think, last week, where that's not the case. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, then what are you gonna do?
Then you just.
Oh, sorry, pause for a second. We got a question for Michael.
Yeah, real quick, so when you're briefing it, you say. Hit pass Grady and then intercept the glide slope at Humpty.
Descend to 7,900, right? So descend to 7,900 on the localizer. We'll expect to intercept the glide slope at Humpty at 7,900. Our final approach fix is when we intercept the glide slope at 7,900.
And then you just set down to your decision altitude, which is 5,170.
Yeah, great. And what's the missed approach point?
Mm,
This is something we want to make sure everyone's super clear. Let's see what's the other color. If you have an approach with vertical guidance, which in a sling, what are the two kinds of approaches we do with vertical guidance? And exactly, LPV, right? Purple needles, green needles, but that you get lateral and vertical guidance. Those are the two we do. So they call those approaches with vertical guidance. The final approach fix we just established is what? Otto?
is
Yeah, so when you intercept the glide slope at prescribed altitude. Good. The missed approach point, the map, bingo. Exactly.
not
and then any non-vertical guidance is just where it has that end.
Exactly. Right. Like, so then this is like going to be no vertical guidance. Right. So the missed approach point will be, how do they do it? They do it kind of like a fancy M in Jepson. Good. And what's the final approach fix for a approach without vertical guidance?
Gave it a simple but.
Yeah, Maltese cross. It's kind of a bad drawing of one, but you get the idea. Fortunately, they're not judging me based on my mom. But that, right? Yeah. So when you have no vertical guidance, you need symbols on the chart. If you've got your symbols in your plane, your glide slope, then you're not using any symbols on the chart. That's one way to remember. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's finish the ILS first, and then you can see where we're gonna go. Cool. All right. So the missed approach point is your DA. Now the question is, when can you descend below your DA? God bless. Right. That's where you drop. That's where you name drop. 91, 175. So there are certain requirements for 91, 175 you have to meet. Let's run it. Justin, tell us one of the requirements from 91, 175.
See the runway.
Good. Runway or runway environment. What does that mean?
See the lights.
Good.
It's like the whole list.
Yeah, there's a list of 10 things. Anybody have the 10 things memorized?
Is there an acronym?
I don't know one.
Just, you think of, the beginning all the way to the end. So
Okay.
The threshold.
Okay.
The rail.
Threshold.
The rail is the rail.
The rail.
Threshold lights.
sorry.
Threshold marking. Maybe runway lights.
Housing footage,
I like to think of it as paint pavement lights. That's the runway environment. Paint pavement or lights. Like those are some of the things. There is a list of 10 things. Probably for our SkyWest interviews, we should have them memorized. But if you just think paint pavement lights and you kind of come up with 10 things, sure. There's one though. Who answered this one? Did I call him? You said this, right? There's one asterisk though in this One of the 10 things has an asterisk next to it. Yeah, say more, Jackson.
You could only get down to 100. From
100 feet above,
touchdown zone.
100 feet above the touchdown zone elevation. Say it again so everybody can hear you.
When you see the rabbits, you can send from the 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation.
If you see the rabbits, I'm going to expand that a little bit. Rabbits, remember, that's our colloquial term for the runway alignment indicator lights, those strobes that are like, land here, come, land here. We have them here in part of our Malzer. All the Malzers have them. Long Beach has a gorgeous approach lighting system. We have one here too. Here it is, 91-175, Charlie 3. Here are the 10 items. But this first one is, if you see the approach lighting system and it is distinctly visible and identifiable to you, you can go ahead and descend below DA or MDA. Like, sure, you see a rabbit, send it. However, except you may not descend below 100 feet above. I have to make this so complicated. Descend below, above. You cannot descend below 100 feet above the touchdown zone elevation if the only thing you see are the approach lights. Unless you see the red terminating bars or red side row bars that are also part of the approach lighting system. So the rail, the runway, there's two kinds of rails, right? Runway up, there's the RAIL and the REIL. Real, because we also have the runway, and here's the rails with E and E. There's no asterisk on those. What do these rails look like? The runway end identifier lights. White what's? White flashies, where are they? The corner of each threshold, right? So you've got two strobe lights at the corner of the threshold of the runway, at the runway end, right? That are strobing. That's the runway end, the REILs, rails. Yep. Those are real. Those are real rails right there. Yeah, exactly. This rail, right, the rabbits are the strobes that are runway alignment indicator lights. And those are part of the approach lighting system. So if the only thing you see are the rails or some other part of the approach lighting system, let's pull up Malzer. Come on, Google, don't fail me now. Here are the runway end identifier lights. These strobes at the corner of the threshold. Reels, the real rails. Yep.
The real light.
The real lights. Instrument runway. Here is an example. This is not a Malzer, but you do have, these are all part, no. These are all part of the approach portion of this. Let's see, centerline lights, threshold lights, sure. Touchdown zone lights, some of them have touchdown zone. Does 3-0 have touchdown zone lights? I haven't done an instrument approach into 3-0 in a long time. We could look and find out on the chart supplement. Runway, taxiway, runway lights. This is not what I wanted. Oh, here we go. Approach lighting systems. This is what I wanted, right? So these green things are the beginning of where you can touch down, right? So if there's, say, a displaced threshold, like a 2-9 or right, the green bars here are the beginning of where you can touch down. All of this before that is all of that is part of the approach lighting system.
That's dirt, right?
For us, part of it's dirt, part of it's our displaced threshold. Remember, you take off 2-9 or right, you have to like go over the little bump over those lights. That's part of the Malzer. That's one of these. You're running over part of the approach lighting system. Yeah. So if you only see, say, that little light where you bump over, or you only see these strobes, the runway alignment indicator lights, and you don't see anything else, this is where the asterisk is. If that's the only thing you see is the approach lighting system, then you can go below DA or MDA, but no more than 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation. So it's saying, sure, go down a little more, but don't go lower than 100. Still give yourself a 100-foot buffer, is what it's saying, right? Yeah.
So with that being said, you're coming in, I see the rabbits.
Yeah.
100 feet above touchdown zone. I see the VASI lights because it's the visual.
Good.
I land.
Now you can land. Exactly. Exactly. Or if you see the red terminating bars, which are at the very end of these, neither of these have the red terminating bars. Some of the approach lighting systems have red terminating bars. They're at threshold, so like that's also considered now good enough to land it. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, this is why instrument runways have approach lighting systems, right? Because that allows you then to have lower visibilities and still get below DA or MDA. Not good enough to land, but at least get down to a place where you might be. Listen, if you can get down to 100 feet above and still don't see it, that's a bad day, right? But the approach lighting system at least gives you a better chance and allows you to have smaller visibilities to get down. Are there any questions on that? 91 with 75 guaranteed to come up in a truck ride. So just know, yeah, having the runway or runway environment in sight, except for if it's only the approach, the ALS approach lighting system, then you can only go down to 100 feet above touchdown zone elevation. That's why they put touchdown zone elevation on the chart. Let's switch over here. No, I'm not gonna switch yet. But on the chart, at the top, they put airport elevation and touchdown zone elevation. That's exactly why. So you can be in compliance with 75. Add 100 feet to that. Yep, that's easy math. We have all of these, right? So paint, pavement, lights, including any visual glide slopes, PAPI, VASI, threshold lights, threshold markings, the threshold itself, which would be paint or pavement, touchdown zone markings, touchdown zone lights, runway or runway markings, runway lights, the numbers. You've seen it as paint, pavement, lights with the asterisk if you only see the approach lighting. Cool. There's two more requirements in 91-175. Sean, what's another one? 3 requirements. Guaranteed to come up on an approaches phase check. Did it come up yesterday? Guaranteed to come up in a final phase check. Guaranteed to come up in a check ride. What are the other 2 requirements? Sean, do you know one of them? This one's the easy one, right? But there are 2 more. You can't forget. Okay, all good. Sebastian? Good. What does that mean? Cool. What else?
When you, like, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. No abrupt, no steep turns. In IFR, that means something more than standard rate. No S turns, no slips. No VFR stuff, basically, right? And the way that they talk about this is up here in number 1. Continuously in a position, from which a descent to a landing on the intended runway can be made at a normal rate of descent. So a normal rate of descent for us, no more than 1,000 feet a minute, using normal maneuvers, no S turns, no slips. And if you're 121 or 135, you have to do that descent rate and touch down within the touchdown zone of the runway that you intend to land for 91 descent. But if you're 130, and I recommend we should also be landing on the touchdown zone. That's why when you and I come in and we do an ILS or the RNAV into 29 to right, I'm saying touchdown on the 1,000 footers, because that's what we would have to do in part 121 or 135.
Oh, you guys always have to do.
That's what I teach.
Yeah,
Might as well get ready for 121 now. Or 135. We're all headed there. Yeah. On the marshmallows. That's a good name for that. Yeah, land on the thick 1,000 footers. That's what the glide slope's bringing you down to. That's what your glide slope's bringing you down to. Right. If we're doing commercial maneuvers or private, we can pick different landing points. But for instrument, on a precision approach, any approach, you should be aiming for the touchdown zone. Ours is on the 1,000 footers. Same at Long Beach. If you're in the ILS in Long Beach 30, land on the 1,000 footers.
Those slips means like no forward slips.
Correct. You need to like put crosswind, but that's different. That's different. Yeah. What's the third thing? I know you know, Chris. Let's see if somebody else knows.
I think.
Weather.
Specifically,
For the
kinda. Let's get a little more specific. Yeah, visibility, but there's a particular kind of visibility. Anybody can say no. Yeah.
like
Light visibility. Light visibility. flight visibility. That's Charlie 2. The flight visibility is not less than the visibility prescribed in the standard instrument approach being used. So they prescribe visibility, but technically it's what you see. What is flight visibility? Is that what the ATIS says?
No, that's what you see from the car.
It's what you see from the cockpit. Exactly. That's flight visibility. In Part 91, if the ATIS says less visibility than what the approach requires, we're still allowed to send it in Part 91. I think Part 121 and 135, the ATIS still has to say at least what the weather minimums are. I think, unless you're category 2 or 3. But for Part 91, you could actually try an approach, even if the stated visibility on the ground is less than what's required, because 91.175 talks about flight visibility. You determine from the cockpit your flight visibility is meeting the requirements, you're good. But if at any point it does not, you cannot descend below MD8 or D8.
That's where 91.3.
That's careless from record. No, that's PIC responsibility. Yeah. Sure. Like, what are we thinking?
The fact that at the end of the day, it's pilot's discretion. If he really thinks he sees
Well, what are some ways we would be able to determine flight visibility?
ATIS.
Well, yeah, obviously the 8 for me, it's like, well, I don't know, the ATIS, right? If I'm in the clouds, kind of hard to know if I don't have any point of reference. Also, the approach lighting system can help us. We can see how far is a Malzer, right? What's that furthest out strobe light? How far is that? I'd have to look it up, to be honest, right? But that's knowable, and we should know it. And then we can determine, okay, if I know that if I see that first strobe light from a certain point of my approach, then I guarantee the flight visibility.
I'm thinking to your note, in terms of the basic flight visibility, is that from a pilot standpoint versus an ATIS, the weather can change at any moment.
Also that.
So when a fog rolls into the airport, all of a sudden you get a fold and you see the lights, and as a pilot, you're like, well, it's basic flight visibility. I don't care what the ATIS says, I see, because that's why we have PIREPs, right?
Exactly.
So when we see it, we send it, and because 91.175 says we're clear, we're gonna go.
Exactly. Could not agree more. Exactly. But it can what's that?
What the towers.
Exactly.
They're just thinking tower.
Exactly.
But doesn't fog give the illusion that things are further than they actually are?
Yeah, bad viz makes things seem closer, ironically. I think that's what the PHAC says, right?
I think it's further.
Maybe it's further. I know that haze and bad visibility, there's an illusion about things being closer or farther with or without haze. But to your point, it can also go the other direction, right? The ATIS could be like, visibility 2.5, and that was 50 minutes ago, and now you're on an approach and you're in the soup. It can go both, it could change in either direction.
Which is why we have this,
Exactly.
like,
This is about your observed flight visibility from your cockpit at that moment you're doing the approach. Yes. Now you'll notice, or maybe you haven't noticed, I'll tell you, that the visibility requirements are designed strategically so that if you have the prescribed visibility, you should be able to see the runway from the missed approach point. And if you don't have the prescribed visibility, you will not be able to see the runway from the missed approach point. That's how they design it. Yeah. Cool. So just make sure you don't forget these other two. I think most people in check rides, phase checks, they're really good about remembering this one, but then they forget about you have to be continuously in a position to land on the intended runway using stabilized approach, and you have to have the required flight visibility. Don't forget those other two. Yeah. Well, it says normal maneuvers is technically what it says, right? Using normal maneuvers. I watched some YouTube video this week about what does normal maneuvers mean. Does our does our POH specify what a normal maneuver is in a sling for landing? I haven't read it. It just talks about, final approach speeds and stuff like that. So obviously if you're not gonna, descend at 98 knots and call that like a normal approach in a sling. Where do we come up with 1,000 feet a minute? I really don't know, but that's a very commonly stated thing. So someone decided that 1,000 feet a minute in a in a light aircraft like ours, and I think even the airlines use that same rule, like is a criteria of a normal maneuver for an approach. Yeah, normal rate of descent. Normal rate of descent. But maybe some of the aircraft manuals specify what a normal rate of descent is. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe the Embraers and the Boeings and the Airbuses do. The Canadairs, CRJs. Cool. Any questions on 91-175? Yeah.
So the way I remember those 3 rules.
Yeah.
It's the ABCs.
Ooh, say more.
Aircraft able to land normally.
Okay, that's this one.
Yeah. And then basic flight visibility
Great.
and critical visual reference.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Aircraft. Wait, say it one more time.
Aircraft able to land.
Okay.
Basic flight visibility
Nice.
and critical visual.
If that works for you, great. We love it. Love when y'all share tips with each other like that. I love it. I haven't heard that one before, but that's cool.
And then the bonus to that is the lights under.
Then this, yeah. Don't forget the little asterisk one. Yeah. You only see the approach lighting system. They sometimes call this secondary minimums.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's a term that's sometimes thrown around. Secondary minimums are 100 feet above your touchdown zone elevation.
Or the approach light rule.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Question?
So for the 121, 135 people,
Yeah.
The visibility is better than the ATIS, but the ATIS is below their landing minimums. What are they doing?
Different approach.
Okay, so
Diverting.
they don't care about what they can see. They just follow.
I forget where this is quoted in the FARs, and I think it probably comes down to also company operating procedures. That if the ATIS says he's below, don't try. Don't even start it.
Okay.
Also, like the FAA for part 135 and 121, all those operations by definition have paying customers. And it's different than part 91, where, I can operate as a commercial pilot under part 91 in certain limited circumstances, including I'm not advertising my services. So, but if a company is advertising their services or pilot is advertising their services and selling tickets or getting compensation, then they are a part 135 or 121 to try to protect the flying public. And so the FAA is invested in trying to protect the innocent, right? Like if you just buy a ticket, you should be assured of safety. And so part of that is saying, okay, if you're 135, 121, you got paying people in the back. We want to just up the margin of safety a little bit more to say that ATIS needs to tell you you're okay before you send it. Because even if you go down to minimums, there is risk in doing every approach, right? You're in the clouds, you are now getting close to the ground. If you make a mistake, things can go off the rails very quickly. They go off and right, like if you're more than half scale deflection, 3/4 scale deflection, now you could be hitting an obstacle. They just don't. That kind of risk with the people in the back who pay good money, trusting. Yeah. Very much. This is my fun. Cool. All right, let's do the rest of this approach. Let me switch back to the approach plate. So that's the ILS. What happens if we do not satisfy any of the things in part 91-175? Then what do we do? Raul, walk us through it. Cool. Tell us the missed approach procedure.
Like climbing straight ahead to Alejandro.
Cool.
To be able.
Great. And you can see that in the dotted line in Jepson. The dotted line is always the missed approach. And so at least down here, it gives you the starting point, right? In these like that boxes, it's like, okay, I'm going to get you out of danger. I'm going to get you far away from the ground just by looking at those quick boxes. Then you can be like, okay, what's the hold at Drake? And then it'll tell you up here. and hold. It just says and hold. So I guess in Jepson, they just tell you the hold right there. What kind of entry is that, Raul? If the DPE ever like pauses like that in the truck ride after you say an answer,
Change it.
Direct.
Change it.
depends on the DPE.
I'm gonna go get coffee. I'll be right back. Think about it.
Yeah. Oh, I think I need to use the restroom real quick. That's the DP's way of saying you're going. I don't want to have to unsat you, but try again. Teardrop, right? If you did parallel, it would just be, this is almost an exact teardrop actually. Depends on, your performance and when you start that turn. But this is actually almost like you almost keep going straight ahead for that teardrop and then hook around and grab it. Parallel would be if you were coming from over here.
Like the pick, you don't fly on their 305 to
What is that for?
5 first and then join for direct. That one's a weird.
Did we get it wrong?
Yep.
What does it say?
Outbound on.
Oh, we missed the thing. We missed the thing. We missed the thing. You're totally right. Then fly outbound on the radial 305 to 9,000. When you hit 9,000, then a right turn to Drake and hold. We missed that. We missed that.
Unsat.
Unsat. I failed. Take away my certs. Yep. Drake, fly outbound on the 305 radial. When you hit 9,000, then hook around. Now what kind of entry is it, Raul? Direct entry. That's now a direct entry. Exactly. Okay. Phew.
Yeah, I was wondering why
That's how
everybody
Paul. That. I mean, we did that on purpose for instructional purposes.
I love it.
Yeah.
It was
Cool. What is this NOTAM sitch? What's happening up here? Okay, wait. 1230. Does that matter to us? We're on runway 21 left. Okay. Instrument approach procedure. ILS or localizer. DME runway 21 left. Amendment 4 Charlie. For an inoperative ALS, what's that? Approach lighting system. Increase the localizer category Charlie and Delta to 1 1/8 statute mile. Change alternate minimums to read, etc. Oh, and ILS standard, localizer standard categories Charlie. Okay, great.
doesn't apply to us.
Not available when it doesn't apply to us. This is another one. Amendment for Charlie. Disregard note. VGSI and ILS glide path not coincident. Expiration estimated. What does this note have mean?
It means that the glide slope indicator lights and the glide slope indicator ILS are different than each other.
Yeah, that's what the plate says. What does this NOTAM say?
So there's a note that says that, but to disregard that.
Correct.
So
It
there's a
says
note.
on the plate that the VGSI, the visual glide slope indicator, and the ILS glide path are not coincident, but actually disregard that.
But they are.
But so they are coincident.
Dude, I'm so confused.
Here, it's note number 3. Oh God, you gotta love it. This is why you gotta put on. Good luck, Raul. Yeah.
Oh, you're fine.
He's doing the flying part. Good luck. So that's hilarious. Hilarious. Okay, so we got, there was a 4th note time. Did we get them all?
They just add so.
2-1 right, closed, except GA. What's GA? General aviation, part 91 like us. So slings can still send it on 2-1 right. We're doing 2-1 left anyway. Yeah.
VGSI is the same thing. Copies.
VGSI is sort of like a big category. It's saying like what it's sort of capturing all of the visual glide slope indicators. VASI, PAPI, 2 light VASI, 4 light VASI. There's one at Catalina that's a pulsating one that every time I have to look up in the pilot handbook of aeronautical knowledge. How does that one work? Like, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a catch-all category for all of those. Yep. What kind of visual glide slope indicator do we have on this runway?
So,
On the left side, exactly. Just like 29er left. I'm sorry, 29er right.
It would never be a scenario where it's on the right side, right?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
So
really?
it showed-
Yeah. But then the word pappy would be on the right side of the Mauser. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good, good, good. Do you have a question? No? Okay, let's run this now as if you were flying the localizer. Say there's a no time, glide slope out of service. Question?
We talked real quick about the, I guess,
The whole rest of this.
yeah, the V.
The V, good, let's go there now. So let's talk about the localizer approach. Say you're flying that's on localizer. What's different than the ILS? Stuart, tell us.
We don't have vertical guidance, so we're gonna do step downs.
Cool.
instead.
Cool. So walk us through from Craddy to the end.
Okay. So Craddy, we're at 9,000, descent 7,900. Humpty, we're still on the 208 course.
By the way, choose your course from what navigate?
This is the ILS. For the localized.
From the localizer. Good. Okay, keep going.
So at Humpty, that's our final approach fix. Descend down to 6440. And I don't know what's going on there. It looks like there's like a step down again.
Mhm.
But we'll just descend down to VDP.
Pause here. 6,400 until when?
Till
Swings? Sure. Sure. Swings sounds good to me. How will I know when I'm at swings?
we'll see it on our, for us, we'd have to see it on the GPS.
Cool.
Distance,
Cool. If we didn't have GPS, how would I know?
we would see 5.9 on the D
From where?
from the localizer.
From the localizer antenna. Yep, exactly. Good. Oh, question?
Yeah, that's also a GPS marker. right?
Exactly. So that's how we would know in a sling, because we don't have DME. But it would count same way we know Judlow on the VOR alpha into Fullerton. Or B-Walt, I meant, right? Same way we know B-Walt. Yep. So what do you descend to after swings? But what altitude? What altitude do you descend to after swings? Because you said swings at 6440, I agree.
Yeah. Well, we're descending toward. I think we just go to the mist because it's labeling the VDP and the mist is the same altitude.
What altitude?
Question. Oh, we're gonna be on 5,280.
There we go. Right? 5380. Nice. Nice. If we're doing the straight in T1 left. Exactly. Good.
The way I was taught is if you can't see the runway by the VDP, then you just go mist. You plan to go mist by the mist point.
Great. So what's the VDP? What's the V telling us? What is the V?
Visual descent.
What does that mean?
It's like, I think it's just to make sure you can keep your stable approach.
Yeah, the FAA has basically done the math for you and they're saying, listen, if you can't start your descent, if you can't satisfy 91,175 by that point, there's no way you're gonna be able to make a stabilized approach. So at that point, you just gotta be like, in your mind, you're like planning to go mist now.
Because of course you can't go.
You're not starting your mist, but you're planning in your mind. Even if the runway comes into sight now, instantly, I pop out of the cloud and boom, there it is. You know you're not going to be able to make a stabilized approach after the VDP.
Gonna be too sharp of a like.
You exactly more than 1,000 feet a minute, or you got to do crazy things. Exactly. Yeah.
So we get to that point, we level off, we're already planning to go.
Well, you should be leveled off before the VDP, right? You should be at 5380 before the VDP. That gives you the best chance of seeing the runway. So be at 5380 before the VDP. And then what happens if I get to the VDP, Stuart, and I don't see the runway?
Then we just stay at that altitude until we hit the mist.
Good. And then start your mist. Technically, you could start a climb, right? Because it says climb to, right? The first part of the mist is climb to 5,400. You could.
You can just stay on, you have to stay on the right course.
But that's what's up. So that's a common error, right? If you get to the VDP and you're like, oh, start the mist. No. Because this mist is designed only to keep you safe if you do it at the mist approach point. If you start it right at the mist approach point. Exactly. Good. So you could start a climb, right? That's the first part, climb to 5,400. I mean, it's 20 feet, but you don't actually start the missed approach till the missed approach point. You're just in your mind, like after this, I don't see the runway, I'm not landing. Even if right here you see the runway, you're not landing.
And you're not supposed to start the misapproach as protecting you from something.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's designed to keep you safe from obstacles. Where's the iPad? So if you look at how this is designed, right? You climb ahead to 5,400, and then you start a right turn. Well, if you start the right turn back here, now you're on a completely, as an extreme example, right? But now you're on a completely different area that may or may not be free of obstacles. The FAA is saying you're only guaranteed safe if you start the procedure from the missed approach point. Which we decided for this approach, Stuart, where is our missed approach point?
1.4 from the last,
1.4 from the localizer. How will we know in a sling when we're there?
say 1.4. Yeah, here.
Sure, and it'll also be a GPS like missed approach point. Yeah. Cool.
So,
Yeah.
so in other words, the V is giving you the opportunity to see the visual point to the runway, and if you don't see it, you continue to your end.
Exactly. Even if you all of a sudden pop out of the cloud and you see the runway afterwards. So if I'm at 2.6 DME, by the way, the VDP is not going to be on your GPS, side note, right? That's not programmed in the GTN 650. Just kind of got to watch the distances a little bit. But if you had DME, it would be there. If you get to 2.6 and then you get to 2 and you don't see the runway, you're planning to go missed. Even if at 2.5 you see the runway. Because that's what the VDP is. The FAA has decided, hey, you know what, you're not gonna be able to do a stabilized approach. Just try again. Question?
So whenever you have that happen at the VDP,
Yeah.
you can always climb up, but do you normally do that, or you just wait for your-
You're asking what I do?
Yeah,
I'm curious, what do you all do? What would you do?
it makes more sense to me to just climb early so you can get out of the plane, but I don't think I've done that yet.
Any other thoughts? I think, go ahead.
I think in practice, when doing the approaches, it's usually like the instructor or something like the tower is like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, when we do our practice course around here, sometimes you don't even make the first point.
Right.
Where they're like, get the hell out of it. Long Beach, ILS 30,
Before the
go
pyramid.
miss before the pyramid. Bro, that's like 2 miles before my miss. I didn't even, no chance for me to even make it to minimums.
Which is why I'm gonna raise a point. I rarely get to practice going down to the minimums and then really knowing the feeling of staying there and leveling off and pushing the power and, you know, playing with the pitch. I can do it at Catalina,
Yep.
but even at that point, like sometimes there's traffic there and
Yeah.
it's like go miss right away.
And really only on the Bravo approach, the Alpha.
Right.
It's very chop and drop.
Right, so like to my point, going into doing these local approaches and like really nailing the minimums, it's kind of a challenge for me unless I'm with like Jimbo and he's like, go down to minimums, stay at minimums. Okay, now what are you gonna do? Now you're at the missed point approach. Now go.
I know.
Like it's kind of a challenge because you don't get to practice that.
It's a limitation, right? You always get to practice it coming home to tune on the right as we're going in for landing. The way you practice this at Long Beach 30 is you have to get cleared for the option and do either a low approach, touch and go, or full stop landing. Then they'll let you come all the way down, right? But, or at Fullerton, that's circling only. They have their discretion to allow you to circle or not. If you tell them though you want to land, they're much more likely to give that to you than if you just tell them, hey, I want circle to a low approach or something. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't at Fullerton. This week, I haven't gotten any of my requests approved. It depends. It's a VFR practice approach. They can decide. If you're on a filed IFR flight plan,
They gotta get.
you get priority over all the VFR traffic.
Is that too much work to do that?
The risk of the only downside to doing that in our training in a 2-hour block is if you're on an actual IFR flight plan, you have to fly the actual ODP, right? Out to the 170, then limbo. I mean, they're probably going to vector you, but you waste a lot of time doing all that instead of just a right downwind departure. So on a 2-hour block, it's
Not
you
enough.
could, but you should only plan to be able to do literally one approach and then you have to come home. Yeah. So coming back to this VDP sitch, The question was, should you start your climb or wait till the missed approach point? You can start your climb,
You just can't turn.
but you can't turn. You must stay on the localizer or whatever your lateral guidance is. And in the case of this one, it's 20 foot it's 20 feet, right?
Yeah.
That's literally within, what's the margin for my ACS standards for my MDA? No, before the final approach course you're at, before the final approach fix, plus or minus 100. What about at or after the final approach fix?
Plus 100.
Plus 100
Zero.
minus.
Plus 100 minus 0. Plus 100 minus 0 after final approach fix. So what I recommend is give yourself a little margin, right? Because that's that minus 0, the DPE's well within their rights to unsat you if you go 1 foot below 1 foot. So use it to your advantage, right? Be it plus 30, plus 50, especially if it's turbulent, right? You don't want to get like a little gust to bust your minimums. That's good practice in real life too. Right?
Say that
That's
again.
why it's in the ACS that way.
Say that again, what's the buffer?
Maybe give yourself plus 30, plus 50, right? That way, if you on your scan for a minute, you lose track of yourself and you descend 20 feet. Oh, shoot, correcting. You haven't busted your minimums.
So before the final approach fix, you can go low, like that 7900, you can go down to 78.
Yeah, what is the ACS standard before the final approach fix for altitude? Who said it before?
Oh, plus or minus.
Plus or minus 100. So technically, yeah,
You don't really want.
but after you don't want it. After the final approach fix, minus 0 plus 100 is the ACS standard. What's the ACS standard for glide slope and localizer deflection?
3/4.
3/4 scale. What does that mean, Sebastian, practically in our plane?
No. That's all right, 3/4 scale.
Yeah, so this image is full scale deflection. It's a little bit past the second dot. So basically halfway between the first and second dots would be 3/4 scale. Same thing for the glide slope. Same thing for the glide slope. Cool. Other questions? Yeah.
And when you're on the localizer, I've noticed I'm always like I can never just be perfectly the course.
Because you're not an autopilot.
Yeah, I'm always adjusting.
Yeah.
Not like normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would anybody disagree with that? Maybe some of you were flying perfect local. No, that's 100% normal. Why? Why are we always correcting? What's happening to the plane that's causing us to need to correct?
It's getting sensitive, right?
First of all, the localizer is getting more sensitive. Or if we're on an LPV approach, localizer performance, right? It's getting more sensitive. What else is happening? Heard somebody say
Wind.
The wind. Wind. We're flying through an atmosphere. The wind and shade.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To the tropical.
That's literally the skill that you're demonstrating. Do you have the skill to make those corrections all the way down within standards? That's the skill you're demonstrating. Cool.
I would say what would help you is if you got your 650 set up, default page, and you're following the desired track in the track. That helps. Personally, it helps me a lot. And then the cross track, if it says, oh, you're 0.3 or 0.4 miles, to the right, you can go ahead and correct things within like 2 or 3 degrees. That helps me out a lot.
There you go. Okay, team. It's our last 15 minutes of our 5-week course and our 10-week sequence.
Our first break.
So I'm gonna no breaks. No breaks. No breaks. In class. No, here's what I want to do, just to kind of put a little cap on it. I want to in a moment, I'm going to put you into pairs. I want you to just kind of do a little reflection on the past 5 weeks. And I want you to share with your pair a couple of things. Something you learned about flying over the last 5 weeks. It's a pretty broad question. Something that changed you as a pilot, something you learned about flying. And 2, maybe something you learned about yourself. Something you learned about yourself. You can share both or either. And then we'll just kind of go around the class after you have a chance to share with your partner. And we'll just share out together. Pair, pair, pair. And you 3 can be a triple in the back. Everybody know who they're with? Take a couple minutes and then we'll start as a group.
Brandon's gonna get turned on.
Just-
Jack?
Yeah.
How about the email, bro? What do you need to wear? It's a email. Yeah, but you're like at 5'6".
How far is that?
Looks impossible. It's stupid. Right now, I'm like,
See on TV.
yeah, I like that. I would like to out flying, but not some good out of it. I feel myself. I feel like. It's kind of not familiar with modern life. No, and that's for sure. Or if things bad. Yeah. Yeah, I like teaching. I have to pay for another two.
It's a lot nicer.
Still,
It's where I've heard never been on. Not everything's done on the science. Well, not necessarily. Even they want to learn about these. Yeah, give me some sense. What I was able to. So you came here with your before. Yeah. You know what you're trying to play. Maybe not always, but yeah. A lot of processes. Yeah, I mean, our years, last year, stayed off. Oh, yeah. I don't try to get. Hold up. So files, so it's with that. And you guys all have wow. How you feel like the last thing, so you go like, oh, you're gonna get through the valley. Yeah, really.
For the Apple TV.
So I realized the water.
Maybe you plug that in, or how did you find that? Did you just Google Maps that? Probably you can just plug in. Think this will work.
Yeah, a lot. So it's pretty,
Now the question is, which HDMI is it? Wow, don't know what that is. Oh, is that you? That's you. Okay, wait, that's you. Then how do I make this over there?
Oh,
Oh, it's like, it thinks it's two screens. Hold on, maybe I can just move it over. Yeah, there it goes. Take another 30 seconds or something.
Pointing in the exact right direction.
It looks about right.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. It's like, so.
Yeah, because this is Burbank over here. Here's the one. The 170. Oh, that's the 5. 405. Yeah. Right over there. Yeah, I think that's fine. 9-0. Okay, everybody, let's come back together. Before we do the share out, Paul just pointed out something about the ILS into Van Nuys and the importance of not starting your mist at the VDP.
Yeah, so it's Van Nuys is kind of on the right side. It is the final approach fix for Van Nuys, and you're like literally right in a valley over Magic Mountain. You got mountains on both sides of you. And so if you start a turn from there, no bueno.
That's it. You
Yeah.
will be having an encounter.
That's a freeway, right?
An
Yeah,
introduction to
That's the
the 14.
oh,
what it says.
We should oh yeah, that's right. It's like right over the 14-5 interchange.
Yeah.
Kind of where you
Looks
come
like
in.
I'm not even there, but I had an engine failure. And that's big.
And hopefully it's not rush hour. So another great tool, right? And we did this yesterday in Fourth Flight. You can actually fly your whole route, right? In the performance edition that we have. So you get good things like this. Awesome. Thanks for that, Paul. Okay, team. I would love to just hear some of your reflections from this class. Something you learned about yourself, something you learned about flying or being a pilot. Just to kind of do a little reflection here as we close our 7 a.m. time together. Who'd like to start? Thanks,
My
Sean.
brain finally is pretty hard. Yeah, one of the important things I learned about myself is like I can learn a lot of things from you, like also from anybody. However, when I need to respond to things, I don't get turned. I can't really respond to things until like 9 a.m. That's definitely one thing.
So no 7 a.m. check ride for you is what you're saying.
No.
Okay, great.
And then one thing about it is that I think I got more comfortable just knowing that what's going on with life. And I would love to go through it again at least like another 3 times.
November 17th, we'll restart from.
That's like 3 weeks, 2
Yeah.
weeks.
We're stuck, and then new class starts. Others, Mac.
Something I learned, I think we kind of agreed on was that like, it looked so daunting and impossible, like an impossible task at the start. And then when you just kind of go through it, you realize like, oh, I can do this, you know, this is so doable. And it just gets easier and easier every day than you do it. So just go into it with something like that mindset. Will, you know, better.
I like it.
It's like the little like bite-sized pieces that you could just put together and know not everything, but you can definitely understand or start to understand.
There's a lot to know, but if you just break into the little chunks and learn each little chunk, take it one chunk at a time, then collectively you know it.
You know, like approach plays with impossible. You know, it's like, oh, I could probably breathe it now in the air, right?
Yeah.
So
Well done. Other reflections? There.
Yeah, I think, so. Before this, it's like King's videos were in the introduction. This is the part, the classroom is the part where the puzzles kind of come together.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and then when you go into the airplane, then the puzzles really start to kind of come together and mesh. So it's, for me, learning about this myself, trusting the process, not rushing the process.
Yeah.
And your scan, even though you had a good day, you could have bad days where your scan is going bad or where you're briefing the approach and you may miss a step. Even though you briefed it completely, you may have maybe descended below your minimums or whatever have you. So you can have your bad days and your good days, but really trusting the process of like practicing, because if you don't use it, you lose it, especially with instruments.
Awesome.
Number one, waking up at 6 a.m. is rough. It's rough. I find that learning everything on the ground first before I even start in the plane is so helpful. Like, I mean, with Brett, my instructor, we did all the holds on the simulator before we even touched the air.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I also loved from this class learning about the sling itself and all the systems in the sling, because I find it really helpful to know exactly how it works for flying.
Amazing. Love. Thank you.
Just thought awesome. I really like how our class come up with acronym, especially Larry. Acronym for it. I'm just like, oh, this.
Yep.
I also want to thank you for being so dedicated and passionate.
For sure. Kudos to you. Much credit goes to you.
Yeah, also clearly shows your teaching background too. You know, like, because going from a PPL class from like just a normal CFI to someone who actually knows how to teach, it really shows.
It could be very dry, but you don't make it dry. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, like when other TFIs teach the IFR classes, like it's like there's like a huge, it's like different. Yeah, exactly. There's like a difference between reading up the slides and then you see the whiteboard and then like, being interactive.
You already watched the slide, you watched case. You can tell my vision for this class, I mean, first of all, I love the content, second of all, I love teaching, but my vision for this class, and I think we accomplished it this round, it's like, I want this to feel like a team. You know, one of the things we talked about, week one, we talked about safety, efficiency, community, right? And I want this space to be a space where we help each other, where it's okay to be wrong, where it's okay to try on new ideas. And I really want to thank you all for creating that container, because that's the best container for learning. And it's the best kind of crew resource management that I want when we all get to the airlines and we're flying together. So thank you for bringing that. I'm really proud of you all. Thank you for bringing yourselves, even at 7 a.m. to this work. And I cannot wait to see you all passing your face check, continue to pass your face checks and your check rides, and continue to build this community even outside of this classroom. I see you all out there talking and helping each other. That's what makes this flight school special and different than other places. So thank you for bringing yourself. I clearly living my dream, but I can't do that without you. So.
Sounds like a clean commercial.
Stay tuned. They actually are I'm in one of they have these video series they're doing called Leap of Faith. They're like editing one that I filmed. Nice. Did you see one Zachary did one recently? They just released one of Zachary.
That was awesome.
Yeah, media team's on it.
They released one with the new apparel they got.
The new apparel that I know people got the merch funds. I'm available, folks. If you've got questions, your instructors are all available. But I just want to say thank you for the last 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 30 weeks for those of you who've been coming for a long time.
You get here next round.
You get the most dedicated, most likely to quote the FARS award. That's it. Thank you all. Thank you, Neil.
You. IFR.
When's your PPO? Just what's happening?
I'm not on the list. I just found out yesterday.
What are you waiting for? What else do you do?
Oh, so I texted my instructor. It was like, "Oh, you're not." Like I told him, "I'm on the list coming up," and I'm like, "Oh, I thought I made it clear that Dean doesn't want to do your